The market is running wild, like my hair. Letting it grow. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Driven. And the markets just continue to pump and thump and climb higher. New all-time highs once again on the SPX, on the QQQ, and bang! The bulls just continue to fire shots. And what I wanted to talk about today is there's no question we are overdue for a pullback. We're due for a correction. The market is showing some signs of topping, but remember, topping is a process. It's not an event. And we're starting to see some of those things come into play. But just because from a technical analysis standpoint, from a logic standpoint, that we see things are extended, prices are extremely high, valuations are extremely high, despite all of that doesn't mean that a pullback is coming. It just means that it's due. And so we'll have to see when it's going to come. And I'm sure there's lots of frustrated bears out there right now saying, man, why is this thing not dumping? Why is it not dropping? And that's where we have to embrace the concept of, and I know it sounds cliche, but it is truth. The trend truly is your friend. And we have to trade with that trend. And that trend right now, primarily, the primary trend is bullish. And there will come a time when things flip and we have to go short. But that's not right now because things just keep rocketing higher. They're pushing up. And the one thing to keep in mind here, next week I'll be releasing the August preview. So I do a monthly calendar overview. And so August typically is a time where we start to see weakness creep into the market. We've seen it the last couple of years. We saw it last year. We saw it the year before. We saw it in 2022. And so everything is lining up. You're at all-time highs on a majority of tickers. You do have some laggards out there. We're starting to see some of the candles that are showing up in these resistance areas that are reversal indicators. Specifically, go look at Hood and Coinbase from last Friday, and you could see at all-time highs you had doji candles. So that could be indicative of a reversal. But that doesn't mean it's going to come right at that exact second when those candles print. So we have to just keep that in mind. But August, typically weaker in terms of seasonality. We typically see things fall once we get into August, and there's a correction that could flow into the end of October, and that's typically when people buy. And I've talked about it before, that starts the best 6 months in the market, November through April. So we're waiting to see. Now, even though historically that's what's happened, again, it doesn't mean that's what is actually going to happen. So we just need to trade with the trend. And that's what we have to do. So today, in terms of what's happening in the market, it's 2:46 p.m. at the time I'm recording this. The markets are running higher. A couple things that I'm paying attention to that are pretty interesting I talked about on yesterday's review preview video is how BlackRock got down huge on earnings and then rebounded significantly, made a new all-time high. And last week on earnings, Netflix gapped down, and what's happening today, it's up about $23 at the time I'm recording this. It is starting to recover. So let's see if Netflix pulls a BlackRock and hits a new all-time high by the end of the week. Whenever Netflix is up, who else is up? You guys should know this by now. Yes, Spotify. And Spotify is up today. So those two work in tandem, Netflix and Spotify. They're pushing. Apple got a bid today, got up into the $215 range before the bear stepped in, smacked it down, and it's trading around $213.30 at the time I'm recording this. So we're starting to see a little bit of a bid come in on Apple, but it's not holding any strength when it makes a push. So just continuing to monitor that. Again, I am in the long on that position, and I actually started accumulating some shares today on HIM, ticker symbol HIMS. This will be more of a long-term play on HIMS. So probably the next 6 to 8 months I'll hold it. But as it's dipping, I'm starting to add a little bit more. So I did initiate a position in HIMS today. So watching that. And then in terms of day trades, I am currently in a ROKU day trade. I made some decent money on ROKU last week, day trading. And that position that I have right now is down slightly. And so if the day were to close right now, that would be a losing trade for me, but a very small losing trade for this Monday. So that's more what I'm attacking here today. I do ROKU's upside. It's going to have earnings coming up, I believe, July 31st. So there's some opportunity there in terms of day trade. So that's why I went after it today. We'll see. A lot can happen before now and the end of the day. It could turn positive, and I could turn that into a profit. But if the day ends today, it would be a loser. And part of the nature of trading, you're not going to win every trade. There you go. And then just a couple things to look forward to. I have 2 earnings previews videos that should be out by the time you're watching this. One for Tesla and one for Google. Both who are going to report earnings on Wednesday. That's going to be fun. And you'll have to find out what I'm anticipating for both of those tickers from their earnings reports, looking at the charts, doing some technical analysis in terms of where it can go. So be sure to check those. Jerome Powell is going to be speaking tomorrow at, I believe, 8:30 a.m. So pay attention to what he has to say. I'm curious. They're going to ask him about the Trump commentary, the criticism. So that'll be interesting to see what his response is to that. I'm sure it's going to be the company line is we're focused on our mandate, and that's price stability and the labor force. So I don't think he'll really get into the weeds on that. So that's what we have to look forward to tomorrow. And then, like I said, Wednesday is going to be the big earnings day. And then next week is going to be crazy. Probably the best week of July because Apple earnings, Amazon earnings, Microsoft earnings, Meta earnings, and we also get the Fed meeting and the Jerome Powell presser. We get a rate decision. So next week is going to be off the chain, and I'm here for it. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you have a phenomenal one. Check out those earnings previews videos, and it feels good to be back. Pumping out content. Let me know if there's something that you want. Somebody asked me for an earnings preview video on 3M last week. They reported on Friday. I didn't get to it because I was traveling, was on the road. Drop me a line if you're watching this and you were the person who asked for it. I'll get something out for you. I apologize for that. I was on the road. But that's going to do, guys. Make it a great day. Take care, everyone.